In the previous lesson, we added annotations, transitions, and behaviors to our video. Now let's add some audio effects, visual effects, and the zoom feature. Open the attached exercise file, or you could start a new project and import the attached media. Let's start by adjusting the background music Sunny Day. When you click the Sunny Day track on the timeline, the media has a yellow outline and a green horizontal line. If you place and hold your mouse on the green line, your pointer turns into a double-headed arrow and displays the current volume setting. So we can see this clip is at 100%. If I wanted to make this clip louder or softer, I just click and drag the green line up for louder or down for softer. Let's keep it at 100% for now. If you changed it, use Ctrl-Z on your keyboard to undo the change. For this exercise, I want the background music to fade in, play at a low volume during the video, and then fade out at the end. Click Audio Effects. Click and drag Fade In to the beginning of the Sunny Day track. If you click and hold on the diagonal line, you can see the audio starts at 0% and builds up to 100% to balance out with the rest of the audio. You can adjust the duration of Fade In by clicking the circle and dragging it to extend or shorten the Fade In effect. Now let's repeat these steps to add Fade Out to the end of the track. I'm not adding any narration to this video, but if I did, I'd want to significantly lower the overall volume of the track so it wouldn't be competing with the volume of the narration. For this exercise, let's click and drag the volume to around 55%. You can also change the gain percentage for the audio. If you click play and move the gain slider or type a percentage, you can hear the change and see the audio on the track heighten or lower based on the gain selected. Let's use 30% gain for this exercise. So that's how to adjust audio effects. Now let's look at visual effects. We're going to make some edits to the fast clock video on track 2. Before we get started, let's disable the Sunny Day track so we don't keep hearing it play while we're working on the fast clock video. Click Visual Effects. There are 7 visual effect features available. I want to remove the black background of this fast clock video, so I'm going to use Remove a Color. Make sure the fast clock video on track 2 is enabled and unlocked. Drag the playhead over the timeline until you see fast clock on the canvas. Click and drag Remove a Color to the canvas. You should now see Remove a Color properties to the right of the canvas. Click the color drop list, click the eyedropper, and click anywhere in the black background of the fast clock on the canvas. Now let's remove the extra space around the clock. Click the Canvas Crop tool. The clock is now outlined in a light blue. Click and drag the edit points in to crop out the empty space. I want to shrink the size of the clock and place it in the top left corner of the canvas. Click the Canvas Edit tool to exit the crop mode. Click and drag a diagonal edit point of the clock inward to shrink the size. Now click anywhere on the clock that doesn't have an edit point to drag the clock to the top left corner. With our clock in the top left corner, let's add a drop shadow. Click and drag Drop Shadow over the clock on the canvas. We now have the drop shadow properties. Let's change the angle to the bottom center and change the offset to 20. Drag your playhead on the timeline to right before the fast clock video and click the play button to see how it looks. I also want the clock to play over the normal speed typing video. I want to keep the same size and position of the clock, but I want it to play at a slower speed. Right-click on the fast clock, select Copy, right-click on an empty part of track 2, select Paste, and now let's line it up over the normal speed typing. As you can see, copying saves a lot of editing time. The only thing I need to change on this version of the clock is the speed. From the visual effects, click and drag Clip Speed over to the clock on the canvas. Make sure you're viewing the normal speed typing on the canvas. The clip speed properties are now available. The default speed is 1. Being that the original clock MP4 is fast, I need to really slow it down. Let's change the speed to 0.01. Notice slowing the speed extended the duration of fast clock on the timeline. Zoom out on the timeline until you can see the end of the clock video. Now click and drag the end of the video to the left. Once you remove a large portion, click to zoom in on the timeline and match the end of the video to the end of the normal speed typing video on track 1. The last thing I want to add to this project is a zoom to the fast clock. Click Animations. There are 2 tabs, Zoom and Pan and Animations. We're working with the Zoom and Pan. The default has the zoom at 100%, which means it's the entire canvas. Click and drag the edit points to zoom in on the clock. Notice there's an arrow over the clock media and the fast typing media on the timeline. You can slow down the zoom by clicking and dragging the end of the arrow. If you only slow the clock zoom, the fast typing media will happen faster. I don't want that to happen, so I'll click Ctrl-Z on my keyboard to undo the zoom duration change. If you want to completely remove the zoom, click the arrows on the timeline until they turn yellow and then click Delete on your keyboard. Now I need to add another zoom, which is basically a zoom out to the original canvas size. Move the playhead on the timeline to the spot where you want to zoom out. You can click and drag the edit points, or you can click Scale to fit an actual size. If you went a little off the canvas when you zoomed in on the clock, you may need to manually adjust to get back to the original canvas. You should now have another set of arrows on the timeline showing where you zoom back to the original size. So now you know how to add audio and visual effects as well as zooming to your project. Although I didn't go over every feature, I hope this sparked some creative ideas for you to add to your next project. Here are the lesson takeaways. If you want to use background music in your project, make sure it's not distracting. It should be barely audible, especially if you have narration. Take advantage of the visual effects. Use a combination of the features to let your creativity shine. Once you've created the perfect visual effect, use copy and paste to add it to another area of the project. Zoom is a great way to automatically focus learner attention to a specific area of the screen.